Hello and welcome to another episode of Distro Drag. Today we're going to be putting Manjaro and opensuse head to head and see which distro straight out of the box is best for gaming. Just a reminder, straight out of the box means that I'm not doing any kind of tweaks, nothing to the kernel or scheduler. This is what you see is what you get from installing it, installing Steam using Proton Experimental and testing the benchmark. So for the final, I've added a couple more games just to create a bigger discrepancy between the two so we can see where there's a clear difference between the two. Just to run through the games, we're going to be using Arc Raiders with a high preset and FSR quality. Control, an old ray tracing title, we're going to be using Ultra preset with ray tracing and native resolution. Counter-Strike 2, we're going to switch from the medium preset to high just to create a bit more of a realistic expectation of how it would be playing. So using a high preset and native resolution. Stranding 2, I'm using the Ultra preset and using FSR quality mode. dirtrally, the same as the previous ones, Ultra and native resolution. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Ultra preset and FSR quality mode. The new game, Samson, we're using Ultra settings and FSR native. And then an old classic benchmark, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, using the highest preset and native resolution. Let's have a look at our results. Starting with Arc Raiders, quite clear that Manjaro has an edge when it comes to the averages and the 1% lows, although the 0.1% lows are a little bit in favor of opensuse. Not by much, so it could just be run-to-run variance. On control, using ray tracing, we can see same thing. Manjaro just edges out opensuse, but once again, such a small gap, it probably just comes down to the Mesa driver version. In Counter-Strike 2, this is where we saw opposite results. However, in our previous test, I also noticed a little bit more stuttering and less, or lower 1% and 0.1% lows with Manjaro. It might just be the kernel choice or the scheduler, but if we look at our averages, 572 versus 568, that's quite close already for the averages. And 1% lows, 260 and 254 is pretty much the same. So maybe a run-to-run variant, but it seems that the kernel usage in opensuse just seems to prefer higher frame rates. In Death Stranding 2, same result as the previous ones with graphic intensity. We seem to be favoring Manjaro with 111 average versus 110 for opensuse and 86 for our 1% versus 83. In dirtrally, here I expected opensuse to do better based on our Counter-Strike result, but here we see the opposite where Manjaro does 399 for a max versus 370 for opensuse, and our averages is 289 for Manjaro versus 281. So clear win for Manjaro. In Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, pretty much the same result here, 125 average for Manjaro and 117 for opensuse. 1% lows is 99 versus 89. In Samson, our averages are pretty much the same at 85 and 86, yet our 1% and 0.1% lows seem to favor opensuse here, with 60 for 1% lows on opensuse and 57 for Manjaro. Although so close, you probably wouldn't notice a difference. And our last benchmark, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, pretty much the same result as previously. Our averages are sitting 190, 193, so not much differences, and our 1% lows just favor Manjaro a little bit with 109 versus 97, and our 0.1% lows at 49 versus 41. So both do stutter quite a bit. I don't know if that's a Proton version or the kernel scheduler, but they both do seem to have pretty low 0.1% lows. Okay, so on to our overall summary. What are we looking at? So Manjaro, average across all games, is giving us 206 frames per second, and our opensuse is 204 frames per second. So across multiple runs, this is pretty much the difference you're going to see. 4 versus 6, 2 frames is not much to write about. Our lows, we seem to be pretty much the same story over here. 121.9 versus 125, so give or take 3 frames performance difference on Manjaro versus opensuse, more or less the same. However, we're going to have to choose a winner, and the winner is going to be Manjaro. So would I choose Manjaro as my distro for out-of-the-box beginner? Absolutely not. Neither opensuse or Manjaro are beginner-friendly. Not that it's too difficult to set up for someone like myself who's kind of just gotten into the Linux ecosystem. Maybe it's for you who's already tried other distros, but I think if this is your first one, there's better suited ones like Nabara, CachyOS, PeakOS. These ones come with gaming meta packages. Even Nabara straight out of the box just has Steam, Bluetooth, Goverlay, everything that you basically need to get gaming from the get-go. So although these have slightly better performance, like maybe 5 frames here or there, I don't think that's worth the struggle of having to learn how to set up the distro. But like I said, if you've tinkered a little bit and you want to challenge yourself, maybe choose Manjaro, choose opensuse and build a desktop and operating system for yourself that suits your needs. This concludes our distro drag. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment, leave a like. And then we'll move on to the next benchmarking challenge. So if you guys have any ideas or suggestions, leave them down below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!